I could probably list out 5 essential growing principles for healthy bonsai right now. But do you know, there is just one that's crucial. Without it, you might as well put your bonsai tools away. Clickbait? No, it's not. I've got a load of junipers in front of me. I've got some larch. I've got some cedar. And I'm going to show you why having that one essential tip is so pivotal and vital to growing healthy bonsai. But apart from that, we might also have a look at a Chinese elm tanuki I've been working on, just see where we're going with that. Get an update on the silver birch photo challenge I was doing from Tony's Bonsai. And do you know what? I got invited to someone else's garden as well. And he has some absolutely incredible trees. So I went and had a visit of him too. So this is going to be a packed episode. But I tell you, this one essential tip could change your entire bonsai career, especially with junipers. Hi, it's Xavier, and welcome to my Bonsai Retreat. And look, I'm not going to drag this one out. There is one essential growing tip that if you don't have it, you might as well pack your bags and go away. And it's right in front of me actually, and it's very pertinent and applicable to our junipers. And at this point, I'm going to do a big shout out to, I think it's Bonsai One Guy, who made a very, very pertinent point about the last video I did about my Itoigawa 4-foot transformation. And we'll come back to that in a minute. So you can see I've got 3 junipers in front of me. The first of them is this lovely little Itoigawa that certainly you'll be aware that Yellow of Growing Bonsai helped me do a load of styling with back in October last year. So we're looking about 7 to 8 months ago. And there's something about the growing tips that tells me what I shouldn't be doing. Equally, this juniper is sending me the exact same message as that Itoigawa was. But what could that message be? Look, I promised I wasn't going to drag it out, and this growing tip is straightforward, but is absolutely vital before you do any work on your junipers. And it's exactly that, growing tips. If you haven't got them, leave it alone. So this one here, lovely, lovely lime sort of green colour on all of these branches. We've got really fresh, and when you feel the needles and look at the colour, it's almost a very, very light olivey green colour. It's a certainly lighter colour at the ends of all those long extensions. Another big word to remember. Has your juniper got extensions this year? If it hasn't got any extensions, leave it, don't touch it. Now I know I may be sounding dramatic when I say that, but I'm going to say it clearly. This is broad spectrum. I'm not looking at the specifics, there's always differences. But generally speaking, and for someone who maybe hasn't got loads of experience with junipers but is wanting to move forward and is wondering when they should do work, the first big pointer, and it came from Bonsai One Guy, and there was someone else who also commented, has your tree got extensions? And the reason why I raise this is because when I was talking about my 4-foot Itoigawa, he asked me, Zav, well he didn't say Zav, he said, I didn't notice any mention of growing extensions on it. I forgot to mention that, yes, it certainly does have 3 or 4 extensions on some of the key branches. But if I was being really honest, it wasn't spouting out extensions. It wasn't saying to me, you know what, I've fully recovered from that repot and I'm happy for you to do some work on me. And that's when I talk about the importance of listening and watching what your tree is telling you, because we do risk causing more problems by starting stuff we wish we left for another year. Now let me say straight away, this is not going to be a video about junipers, how to work junipers, and that's why I've got 2 or 3 other species, because this point is equally pertinent across a range. Growing tips. Have you got them? Can you see them? And why it matters. And it matters, we'll look at this juniper. I'd imagine at some point in the next 4 weeks I will actually be styling it across the whole range of these branches. we've got something that's absolutely crucial to tell me that this tree is healthy. We've got a nice green colour, but on all of the branches we have an extension. We've got some straggly growth. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the general signs that says this tree, yeah, a few bit of browning, we'll just get rid of those, is ready and happy to be styled. If your tree looks like that, then it's a big thumbs up. Go ahead and start putting some wire on, start doing some styling, start doing some reductions. You want those to grow until you see extensions. So this one is ready for work. And you know what? It was repotted 3 years ago. It hasn't been touched in all that time. It's just been allowed to grow. And we'll see what I do with that at another time. We have this juniper here, and you'll have seen it on my channel before. I've been deciding what to do. I've put wire on it, but the one thing I didn't do is look at it. And over the last 2 or 3 years, it has slowly looked a little bit yellower, looked a little bit tired. And again, if these foliage needles are going yellow and leggy and limp, then really they're not doing their job for photosynthesis. They're not bringing that life-giving power down into the tree, into the root system to build a stronger, healthier juniper. If you can't see that healthy growing tip, then do not think about doing any work on it, because truthfully you'll put so much stress on this that you are risking the life of that tree. Now again, I'm going to say I'm being broad, and there's always individual situations, circumstances where you might be able to apply different knowledge. But if you ask me, of the 2 trees you've just seen, this one and the one that's just been there, which one would I definitely not work on, or which one would I definitely work on? Well, I think it's clear and easy to see. The one that we've just seen is the one that's screaming out, yeah, it's safe and good to do some work and some styling on it. Now, this Itoigawa was probably a turning point for me in Juniper, because it's the one time when I actually saw from someone who knew exactly what they were doing how to go through some initial styling steps. Again, this isn't about styling. If you want to see the video there, it's going to be in the description, in fact just up there. And you know, it's still amazed how this is looking, but again, I may suggest that I've got some growing extensions starting here, down the base here, sort of here, but not really. And it's not surprising. This had heavy branch manipulation, and that was only 7 months ago. And we keep saying, and you'll see it in loads and loads of videos about bonsai, with the pines and junipers, 1 bit of abuse a year. And don't be eager. When I start seeing proper extensions of sort of 2, 3, 4 centimetres, and you only see it on one place, then you know you can do some work, or certainly from my perspective. Right now, there's only one thing I would probably do with this, and that's to do with this growing tip right here, and it's obviously browned off. So I'm just going to bring it back in, tuck it right into the profile. I'm going to do the same with this one here. Take it back in within the profile. But what I'm really looking for is internally, I'm looking to see back budding. And back budding's only going to come with the juniper and with many other species if you get those extensions. No extensions, probably no back budding, and certainly no work. And equally, we've got this Cedar deodara, Himalayan cedar, still under development. You know, we've got some weak dead branches on it, but down here as well, but over the top range here, higher up in the apical region, potentially on this branch, we're seeing lots and lots of long green extensions. Now, if we were seeing all this across the range, definitely be working on it, but these I can certainly shorten. I can certainly do some work on this. Overall, I'd say that 3/4 of this tree is pretty healthy, which is telling me it's probably pretty happy with what's in the roots. So I could work on it. Conversely, if you have a look at this one, are there any growing tips? Are there signs of buds or anything really? And no, what this looks like is a tree that's still in recovery. And if you look back to this video last year, you'll understand and know why that is. So will I do anything at all with this? No, I'll make sure it doesn't get undue midday sunlight or anything. I'll make sure that I control the wind and the watering, and I'll let it go for a year. don't be in a hurry to style if your tree is telling you, leave me alone. Now, clearly I've gone on and on about the growing tip, and it is vital. So let's apply it, shall we? We've got this Chinese elm here, which is in fact a whip grown from one of my cuttings that has been wrapped around really old Corkbark elm. Now the elm itself died, and I was determined I wanted to keep the core of it, and it stayed solid and structurally sound, so I created a tanuki, and there's a brilliant couple of videos that show this process. And again, what sort of pruning can I do now? Because I need to be asking myself, what do I really want to achieve now? And it's a tanuki. And what's the first primary goal of the tanuki? I need this trunk here to actually grip into the channel that's been created. Now, there's no wire holding this on, and we can see in places that it's certainly starting to grip and certainly starting to thicken. But the only way that's going to continue to happen is if I've got lots and lots of shoots growing out. Do I need to seriously do any pruning on that at all? Well, actually, no, I don't. There are a few things I might want to consider. And that is, first of all, you can see where we've got this gripping around the top, but there's actually a little gap between there. I want this to be probably another, certainly 2 or 3 millimeters thicker. How's that going to happen? Branches like this one need to be allowed to grow out. Branches like this one need to grow out, and these ones. So I don't need to worry about any sort of ramification yet on these, or indeed the one that's going to be above it, because everything that's feeding upwards is going to continue to help thicken that. And indeed, as we look up at the apical region here, I've got some wire on there where I'm keeping this close in. I still need to keep the wire on, it's not gripping, but these are two very important parts of growth, because again, while we've got stuff growing up through the apex, that's going to continue to thicken and strengthen the whole project. So in the end, did I take off a bit more than you thought I would? Yeah, of course I did. It's really, really healthy. Still got to decide on the front. I'm thinking the front's going to be around here, because we've got this growing as back branching here, so I really don't want to remove this. Again, I've kept these long. I want these things to grow out. I want the lower branches to thicken out. I've kept this one long because I want a nice long, much thicker branch here, so I want energy going there. Same with this one here and this one here, and you're seeing the same here. As we go higher up, I want the tree to remember where I want the energy. I want the energy lower down. So I have actually cut a lot of these closer back. That will prompt back budding, that will prompt some tighter, finer growth. That's fine. What I'm looking for is this stuff to get heavier and bigger. Anyway, that's a bit of essential pruning with this Tanuki Corkbark elm. I thought it'd be a great idea to have a look at Sven's garden. You want to see some real trees, so we're going to have a little look around Sven's, and maybe if I'm lucky, you'll just talk to me a little about what he's been doing. But in fact, Sven's just come along and bought me some iced water, because you know me, definitely don't like drinking. We'll have a little look at his trees and perhaps get some words of wisdom from him. Now, many of you'll know that I've got a little place in my heart for tiger bark ficus, and as soon as I walked into the back garden, Sven directed me to this, and I said, obviously you love indoor trees. So looking over at him, do you like indoor trees?
No, I hate them.
Yeah, so why have you got this one then if you don't like them?
My partner saw it and she said that that's a lovely tree, and the price for it was right, so we took it with us home.
Yeah, I mean, I actually really like it, but I'll tell you what has impressed me is looking in close. There's absolutely loads and loads of back budding. How have you managed to get that back budding?
I just cut off all the leaves, leaving about 15 leaves on the whole tree, and been waiting for 2 weeks, and it's absolutely everywhere leaves.
It's it really is incredible. I mean, I've just done the same thing probably 2 or 3 weeks ago with my ficus, And, I'm proud because I've had 5 or 6 little buds coming out. This has got hundreds. It sort of puts me to shame, but it shows that method really works of, once you bring it outdoors, get those leaves off and let it start afresh.
Yes, there was a bloke on YouTube who told me to do like this, and I picked it up, and it works very well.
The maple that's here that I'm looking at, can you tell me a little bit about this one?
Yeah, I got it from the trophy in February, and found it online first, and I reserved it because I wanted to have a look at it first before I got it. And
just interrupting, would you say that's something important? I mean, it's something that a lot of us, we look online for trees, especially more expensive trees. Would you ever risk just sort of taking it on spec and just ordering it and waiting for it to arrive, or do you think it's important to...
No, never. I want to have a look at it first, because it's so easy to hide things when you take a photo, so you might get a big surprise when you pack it up. So
yeah, I think it's something that Sven was talking to me about, that perhaps sometimes even I can forget, is that we get excited, we look at trees, we go to nurseries and we can see them, and yes, we shouldn't be turning them around to that, but if you're going to buy a tree, there's nothing stopping you, especially if you speak to the proprietor, they won't mind. Pick the tree up carefully, have a look around, have a look for why it's facing front. It may be that there's some problems at the back. It's not deliberately trying to hide anything, but it is important, I think, that you know exactly what it is you're going to pay, well, for many of us, a lot of money for. Just buyer beware. That's the only thing I'd say to you. No one, I think, deliberately tries to sell a tree that's bad, but know the faults first, especially if you're going to pay a lot of money, because this is magnificent. This here that we're looking at, I know you mentioned it's an elm. Say it's a field elm.
It's a field elm, yes.
I love the root, the way you've got this, the exposed roots wrapped around. I find it very, very natural. What was it that drew your attention to this as something that you wanted in your garden?
Actually, I thought it was a Chinese elm first, and I saw it and I thought, oh, that will be nice to have indoors, and me not liking indoor bonsais, that was a difference.
Yeah.
And then I talked to the guy who had it, and turned out it's a field elm, so it's an outdoor bonsai. And I just like the twin trunks on it.
It works, and I think it works, from my point of view, it works really well because of the actual, the way you've got those roots spiraling around. So it's not just two trees as a twin trunk on its own coming out of the soil. It's got character, and for me it looks real. The field elms I've got are, they had their first prune that post-flush period in May, and I'm about to go back in again on some Zelkovas. The other thing that I was really drawn, apart from just how many impressive trees there are around you and how well laid out it is the volume of air layers you've got. I mean, I'm not joking, I can't even show, there's got to be at least, I'd argue there's probably at least 40 air layers going on different trees around here.
I think it's closer to 70.
I told you I struggle to count anything above 5, well 10 actually, because I've got 10 of them. But I mean, on this tree alone, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and I can already see in a couple of them, with these clear plastic balls that you use, you can actually see there's a little root coming through. And I think you've been speaking to me about these containers. I think you've sold me on them. I think I'm definitely going to have to try them in 2026 for my air layers. What's the big advantage you've found since you've been using these balls like this?
Well, I can control it better, so I know when they start to grow out, and also then I can calculate how long I can keep them before I have to cut them off.
Yeah.
Whereas if you have a plastic bag or a black pod thing instead, you don't have a clue until you open it, and it might be too late then.
So in terms of your rule of thumb, have you got a feeling about when you decide, you know what, this is ready to separate?
When I have a lot of roots,
yeah,
or it becomes end of August.
So that we go, normally September's normally quite warm here, so...
Yeah, last year I had Airlayers that was running all the way into November.
The amount of Airlayers, and that's just on one of them. You like maples, by the way?
A little bit, yeah.
I keep saying I'm blown away. You know that's my favourite phrase, blown away. But what I like most about what's going on in Sven's garden is, you know, we all love those classic, whether they're, well, the classic tree, the classic premium tree, and you look at it and you think, gosh, that's a proper bonsai. And I know Sven's looking at me and he's wondering what I'm going to say next, say that these aren't. But what I've always said is I love stuff that's got something interesting about it. They're beautiful trees, and the reason I say it is I'm looking at this one here, and it's an incredible maple on a piece of slate. And I mean, I imagine that must be a nightmare to keep water. Does that go through water quickly?
It dries out in a few hours, but it only has sunshine for about 2 to 3 hours in the afternoon. So I keep it in the shadows to keep it moist, but it needs to be watered 2-3 times a day when it's nice weather. And
I think the first thing I said to you when I saw it is, you know, are you going to take out that middle trunk?
No, that's actually the back side of it. So in the end of May, I turn all my plants around. Yeah. So at the moment, this is the back side you see. So the front is on the other side. Yeah. And I want to keep that to have the depth of the plant. Depth. So they will stay like this for another 2.5 months, and then I will turn them back again so that the front is out.
That's quite an important point, I think, when you said it earlier. So your regime for making sure they get that equal sun is probably 3 or 4 times within the growing season you'll turn them?
Yeah, 3 or 4 times, yeah, depending on the weather.
Whether you get sun, yeah. Now, definitely the one thing I do love, apart from Larch, is root over rock. And I've got quite a number of projects that I've been working on, certainly over the last 5 years. And do you know what? Root on rock is a slow process, but if you haven't started one, well, I've got some great videos in my playlist. Do it. If you love doing bonsai and you love seeing something interesting like what's over my shoulder here. And I didn't notice it until Sven said, oh, do you want to see the front? And wow, that's all I'll say, wow. I mean, you look at this Trident maple. How many Trident maples have you got in your garden?
1.
1. Dare I say, what drew you to this one then?
Oh, yeah, when I saw it the first time, it didn't have any leaves, and I thought it looks really nice on top of that rock. So I thought, well, I don't have any root of rock, so yeah, let's change that.
I mean, I like the way you've got this big outcrop of rock on the left-hand side, but then opposite it, there's a big buttress of a root on the right-hand. I find it gives a really nice balance with the central core of the tree going right up the middle. It's also equally important, certainly with your deciduous, is understanding that you need the tree to look good when all the leaves fall off. And in fact, many trees get shown when those leaves are off. So I think Sven was saying there, luckily, he saw this without any leaves on. So from that, you're able to see the sort of ramification and structure it has. The one thing I've noticed that I think every garden has this section somewhere in their collection. It's the area where, well, I don't know, Sven, the trees you've got here, I noticed that, well, I don't want to say they're not healthy or anything, but is there an area you've got where when you're trying to help a tree recover or something?
Yeah, I have them just in front of you. That's where all the sick or unhappy trees are, and could be different reasons for it, but the main thing there is that it's only 1 hour sunshine per day.
Sometimes we can control the major factor, which if a tree's not well, it's going to struggle either with water uptake or it's got too much transpiration, too much water's coming out through the leaf structure. And we'll see it because we get that browning off, or we either get total leaf destruction or whatever. And you know what? If the tree hasn't got any leaves, it's going to struggle to get those nutrients that it needs through to the roots, and it gets sicker and sicker. And yes, there's loads and loads of other reasons. But often the first thing I think, if I've got a tree that's just looking a bit unhappy, a bit unhealthy, leaf scorch, is I get it out of the sun. Do you find that there's anything in particular about the Arakawa that's either difficult or you have to treat differently?
Yeah, they have very long internodes, so you need to cut them in a way so you get shorter and shorter internodes. And what I have tried to do now over this year is I left the long internode over winter, and then I cut that internode off in May.
Right.
And hopefully that means that the internode inside, which is shorter, hopefully will not grow longer and then generate short internodes.
I know that you're going to get that big first flush where you're going to get the long internode anyway, so let the tree put the energy there and then come back, remove all that growth, and then use that secondary set of buds that are further behind it. But as I say, I haven't got an Arakawa, so I haven't seen that working in principle, so it'll be good to hear from you how that actually works out. Now notice here that at the far side you've got you've got a black pine, looks like a couple of white pines. Certainly this white pine is covered in flowers. Have you ever heard of the, I don't know whether it's advice or people say that you should remove the flowers on a white pine or anything like that?
It's the first year I have flowers on it, so I don't know how to do it.
All I'll say with the flowers is what I've noticed is that, I mean, mine has flowered profusely this year, probably more flowers than ever. I've left them. And I know some people do remove them and say it drains energy, but my view is if the tree's putting them out there, it's fine.
Yeah, no, so I will leave it to see how it reacts, and then I will learn to next year.
If you get a new tree and you bring it into your garden, again, if you bought yourself a healthy tree, observe it, watch it. Don't be in a hurry necessarily to do things with it. Watch, find out where it likes to be in the garden, and then enjoy it. You've bought it for a reason. Enjoy it rather than start getting these things anywhere near it. Oh, and there's an azalea. Everyone knows we love azaleas, and although the flowers have dropped on this one, I'll give you a heads up. I've already seen a picture of what it looked like with flowers, and if I ask really nicely, maybe Sven may actually send the picture through to me. Do you know what? I've been spoilt by Sven. It's absolutely fantastic that he even thought to ask me to come around and have a look at his collection. And where it's possible, I love it. I love seeing trees. I love seeing what other enthusiasts are doing. And it's amazing. There's things I've picked up here already. I'm definitely going to be using the plastic cups for Airlayers next year. I know a lot of people have talked about them, but the sheer volume that Sven's got around his garden, well, I like what I see. I've already seen loads with little roots in them. But I just want to say thank you very, very much for inviting me to your garden. And I appreciate you taking the time out as well. And you know what? It's impressive. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. It was nice to have you here. And thank you for sending me the database, which was actually what started this off.
Oh gosh, right. So have you actually used the database or?
Yeah, I've started to use it.
But yeah, the database, it's available. My daughter Lexi did all the design work on it. It requires Microsoft 2016, Access 2016 and above. But if you've got that and you want to give it a go, then just whack me an email, expressionsbonsai@gmail.com, and I'll send you out a copy. There's a load of rules or whatever you've got to do whenever you send anything out to anyone. But it's an access program, so if you've got access, you can have a go and see if it works. It is a great system. We've got probably over 60 people around the world using it. Anyway, thanks very much, and I've got to go back and do some Airlayers now. I'm really jealous of those plastic balls. So I did mention that I was going to talk about this this photograph challenge tree, which is the clump of silver birches. And again, bringing us back to that question, have I got the essential growing tip necessary, and what am I actually looking for the tree this year to achieve so that I can eventually get the results that I want, if that makes sense. So I suppose to decide that we need to look at what the original aims were. The challenge was to create a credible or realistic tree or impression of a tree that's been photographed or really exists in nature. And Tony Higginson of Tony's Bonsai, God rest his soul, took some wonderful, wonderful photographs, and obviously this was one set which really grabbed my attention. And I initially did the planting, and again, as the trees move older and older, you have to accept that it's going to become more impressionistic. Overall, you've got a clump of trees and one off to the left. That was the design. You've got them all moving over this way, and again with this. But what I do need them to do is continue to grow and strengthen and knot together, and the roots to get stronger together. To do that, we need all these growing tips and growing shoots to continue to grow. So really, I'm in no hurry to do any particular pruning. What I do have to watch out for though, is it getting too cluttered and chaotic in here. Everything on this side is actually quite tight because the wind is blowing that way. I'm going to remove some bigger leaves and stuff that's coming across that I don't need, so I want to be able to see into the composition. I'm absolutely over the moon with how much growth we've got. but it's about bringing it back to what is credible for the design I'm looking at. And part of what I can do is just a bit of leaf cutting. You've seen me do this before, and again it just reduces the surface area of the leaf to make it look more natural, but it also that will encourage a back budding response from the tree. And I just really want to control where this new growth is coming out from. Okay, well there you go. I think that's still pretty representational of the picture, still giving that flow, and now I've got more room for new growth to come out, greater ramification, which I need up there, but it still needs to feel, this lower 2/3 still needs to feel very sort of stark and bare. But that's going to come on, so I'm happy with that. Give it a bit of liquid fertilizer. Yeah, really happy how that's working out. Again, I've got a funny feeling this is going to look fantastic. I can find myself a nice bit of slate to put on it. So I did say I was going to mention larch. We've got a Japanese larch here that is screaming out in joy. It has lots and lots of healthy extensions and growing tips right across the range of this project. And it's a little twin trunk, and I can happily go to town and follow my Japanese larch pruning tips. But what do you do if you see this? You've got part of a tree, or, well, yeah, basically you've got some part of a tree that is putting out loads and loads of healthy growth. Then you've got the other part of the tree which seems to be struggling to put anything out at all, or you're getting very, very weak shoots. What's my principle then? If I know it's one tree, and it's not going to cause any issues, I'm happily going to prioritize this tree gaining as much energy as it possibly can through the needles or the folio growth to enable root structures, roots to grow bigger, stronger and better. Because with bigger and better roots, hopefully, certainly with this larch, that may well see next year a little bit more energy being directed to buds here that, well, they're just not strong enough to push out. That doesn't mean they're dead yet. I'm not going to give up on this. But what I don't want to do is reduce the capacity of this tree to bring in energy, which it needs, by doing wholesale pruning here. And certainly the temptation will be, well, I'll just prune and cut some of this back. I tell you what, I've done that in the past, and generally it doesn't end well. If you see, more than 50% of the tree struggling, I don't prune it at all. If it's a less percentage, 2/3 of the tree doing really, really well, you might want to do a bit of pruning, limited. But overall, think about what it is the tree is probably telling you. It needs to get resources and energy. But first principles, don't prune it if it isn't giving you the signals to say, I'm happy, get the knife on me, get the scissors on me. So hopefully through that ramble of stuff and looking at different trees, you've got a really strong feel about the importance of that essential growing tip, especially with your junipers. And the reason why I say that is because this started off as a fantastic experiment in raffia and branch bending. That was just 7 months ago. What went wrong? Well, if you want to know exactly what went wrong and why 2/3 of it, well, 2/3 of it has given up the ghost, you need to watch on, because there's going to be a video coming out in the next 3 to 4 weeks all about this juniper and what I did wrong with it. And I reckon that is pretty essential viewing, especially if you're still learning about your junipers. So if you haven't hit the old subscribe, like, notifications, you need to do that. Otherwise you'll probably miss out, because Google won't, because YouTube won't tell you when this comes up. Anyway, if you want to know more about the success and the raffia and the bending of this, well, that's the video. Otherwise, enjoy sun. Happy bonsai and God bless. Cheers.